Another edition of Sports Talk. It's Saturday, October 22, 2022. I'm Daniel Blake. Thank you so much for joining me. The Jamaica Premier League returns on Sunday. That's right, our top flight football is back, and that will be the focus on today's show. We'll be speaking to the CEO of the Professional Football Jamaica Limited, Owen Hill, about all the plans, objectives, issues, and resolutions. All of those things we'll be talking about in today's show. And we'll also be speaking with the general manager of the defending champions Harbour View, Clyde Jureidini, to see how things have been going for them as they prepare to defend their title. This season is going to be different compared to the other seasons because usually it's a 12-team league. It has now been expanded to 14 teams. Chapelton Maroons and Falkland have been added to this year's league. So that means there will be more matches this season to contend with. So if you are a huge fan of the league or if you want to become a fan, you have so many more matches to come out and see. So we'll be talking about it in today's show. We don't want to hold up too much of the time because we know this topic is going to be great for this week. So let's start off with the sports bits before I get into my monologue for this week, which I hope won't get me too angry. All right, so let's start off with the Jamaica Premier League, which kicks off this weekend. On Sunday, there will be a doubleheader at Jaxall Sports Complex in St. Anne, with Portmore United facing Montego Bay United at 1 p.m. Then Mount Pleasant battling newcomers Falkland FC at 3:15. There will be another doubleheader that takes place at the Anthony Spalding Sports Complex as Humble Iron play last year's beaten finalists Dun Beholden at 3 p.m. and Waterhouse face Mullines at 5:30 p.m. Veer United will play Tivoli at the Wembley Centre of Excellence at 3 p.m. also on Sunday. Then another doubleheader on Monday as defending champions Harbour View face newly promoted Chapelton Maroons, and at 7:30 Cavalier battle Arnett Gardens. So a full slate of games for this weekend. Now, the Reggae Girls will face two of the best countries in the world at next summer's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand after the group stage draw was done earlier today. The Jamaican women drawn in Group F will face world number 5 France and world number 9 Brazil. Their third opponent will be revealed after the Intercontinental Playoff in February. Girls will continue their preparation for the World Cup when they play potential group opponents Paraguay in November here in Jamaica. President of Cricket West Indies, Ricky Skerritt, has surprisingly hit out at the team's batsmen for their poor shot selection and inability to face slow bowling after crashing out of the T20 World Cup in the group stage. Oh boy. The Caribbean side embarrassingly finished bottom of the table in Group B with a 9-wicket loss to Ireland on Friday being the final nail in the coffin. President Skerritt says a thorough post-mortem will be carried out, which could see the removal of several members of staff. The Super 12 stage of the T20 World Cup started earlier this morning. The Sunshine Girls will look to end their America's Netball World Cup campaign on an unbeaten note when they play Trinidad and Tobago this evening at the National Indoor Sports Centre. The Jamaicans have won all their matches against their regional counterparts, including their dominant 75-25 win over Barbados on Friday. The Connie Francis coach team have been using the competition to give younger players exposure and test out different strategies as they qualified for the World Cup based on their rankings. Trinidad and Barbados are the two other countries to take the qualifying spots for the region. And finally, world champions Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce and Sharika Jackson received the national honors at the annual National Honors and Awards, which took place on Heroes Day on Monday. The 35-year-old Fraser-Pryce was conferred with the Order of Jamaica Commander Class for outstanding performance in the field of athletics at the international level. Jackson was conferred with the Order of Distinction Commander Class for exceptional achievements in the sport of track and field at the national, world championships, and Olympic levels. Also receiving national honors where Dr. Warren Blake, former president of the Jamaica Athletics Administrative Association, sports agent Claude Bryan, and the noted track and field coach Michael Clark. So that is the sports bits for this week. It is now time for my monologue for this week, the Danielog.
This is David Blake.
This is Hope Blake.
I am Ariel Ron Blake.
I'm here to tell you right now.
It's time for the Danielog.
The Danielog.
The Danielog.
I love it.
So around 2 weeks ago, I spoke with Michelle St. Patrick Hewitt from the Caribbean Cricket Podcast, and neither of us were optimistic about the West Indies' chances of winning the T20 World Cup. And we weren't overly optimistic about them reaching the group stage, but it was like, it can happen, but as expected. And not surprisingly, they crash out in the group stages. West Indies cricket is so bad right now. Like, so bad. Test cricket has been improving. We've seen the signs of improvement there, but we are T20 gods. I don't mean to use it like that, but when T20 cricket started, everybody in the world feared the West Indies because we had these big hitters who could smash the ball all over. We had some exceptional fast bowlers, and we had one of the greatest spinners in Sunil Narine. And people feared us. We won 2012 and we won in 2016. And remember my monologue just a few weeks ago where I said, maybe we should have given those 2012 and 2016 teams a lot more credit than we did, because their achievements may never come again. You know, it's just like in 1975 and 1979 in the 50 over World Cup, where we had our legends of the past who won those World Cups. It hasn't been done again. And at this rate, West Indies might not win a T20 World Cup ever again. And even though it's an inexperienced team, and some people might say, okay, we have another shot in a few years, it's not like this is a young team. Like, we keep pointing that out. This isn't a young team with, you know, people in them early 20s or teenagers or anything like that. We have, I wouldn't say an aging team, but a lot of these players are very much in their late 20s, 30s. So it's going to be extremely tough to match up against some of the world's best, who are producing some top-class T20 talents, and some of them can't even make them country's team, and we're literally scraping to find talent here. And President of Cricket West Indies, Ricky Skerritt, coming out and criticizing the batsmen and everything like that. And it's like we keep saying the same things over and over again. Like, when are we going to correct it? We know that we've had batting deficiencies for quite a long time. Are you saying that nobody's going to fix it? Are we pumping enough resources into our youth systems so that maybe in 5-10 years time, when these teenagers you know, at 13, 14 get to 19, 20, or 15, 16 get to 21, 22, that type of age, are they going to be able to bat sensibly in this new age of T20 cricket? Anyways, it's disappointing, but not surprising. It's embarrassing, but not shocking. I assume that there are going to be changes at all levels very soon, but we'll see if it makes a difference. But for all those who woke up early in the morning or stayed up extremely late to watch the West Indies, I applaud you, because it must be like a waste of time right now, right? That's my monologue for this week. Hope that you have your own views and support the West Indies nonetheless, or don't, whichever you feel to do, not forcing anybody to do anything. But as I said at the start of the show, the Jamaica Premier League is our focus for today, and after the break we will be talking to the CEO of the PFJL, Owen Hill. So stay with us.
Importers, the Jamaica Customs Agency is reforming its clearance process, making it easier for you to clear your non-commercial and small value items using our simplified declarations. You will be able to clear your goods without physically visiting the port or a warehouse for customs inspection, making your clearance experience even better. The pilot begins October 2022 across all marine public bonded warehouses. For further details, email Jamaica Customs at contactlessclearance@jca.gov.jm or telephone 876-922-51408. We're here to serve you. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
Come here, Lizzie. We have to leave now, but I'm so glad I can carry my Love 101 FM with me anywhere me go.
How you do that?
What do you mean? I have the Love 101 FM app on my phone, so no matter wherever support me go, I just click on the app and perhaps my Love 101 is right here with me on my iPhone.
But after me not have iPhone, so how me I go here?
Simply go to your Play Store on your Android phone. Search for Love 101 FM. The red app with the Love 101 logo will show up and you just download it. Even my friend in New York did a listen love the other day. Clear in New York, my dear. And you know how him did a listen?
Let me guess.
Pan the Love 101 FM app.
All right then, all right. Me I go download it so I can have love with me to anywhere me go. Have you downloaded the Love 101 FM app? Take Love 101 FM with you anywhere and listen anytime via the Love 101 app. Available in your Play Store for Android phones and on your iPhone in the App Store. Love 101 FM. We are here, there, and everywhere. The family station.
Love 101. The family station.
National serving the people of Jamaica with your favorite foods to help you stay strong. Yeah. Grab your national bag, original, truly Jamaican. Something for all occasion, good for your breakfast, lunch or snack. Grab your national bag, original, truly Jamaican. Best quality, 70 years strong. National build up the nation. National Baking Company, baked with pride since '52.
The 2022 Jamaica Gospel Star first runner-up, Chantal K. Smalley, presents Ripped Reloaded, Provoked to Purpose, with Jamaica 2022 Gospel Star winner Daniel Main, Trezeguet Smith, Pastor Latanya Elliott Ornella, Psalmist David Sutton, The Word by Pastor Ian Channer. Tickets 2,000 pre-sold, 2,500 at the gate. It's a jeans and white event, Saturday, October 22, 7 p.m. Fellowship Tabernacle, Mandeville. Call 876-503-4144.
Welcome back to Sports Talk here on Love 101. As I mentioned at the start of the show, our focus is the Jamaica Premier League. And on Friday, I spoke with the CEO of the Professional Football Jamaica Limited, Owen Hill.
So let me say that it's a tough job. Let me start by saying that. It's a big job. It's a tough job. It's one that sometimes have you here being pulled out just randomly for apparent reasons. But it's a rewarding job. It's something that, helps to lift the profile and the overall development and growth of football in Jamaica. So what is required is the day-to-day management of the football league, the highest football league in our country, and by extension, the 14 clubs, ensuring there's commercial viability for the league itself and the clubs that are part of the league, and the operational management of the league so that compliance is done, regulations are followed, and standards are either set or adhered to. And we just look to improve the overall look and feel of what is considered league.
Yeah, so you have played in the league. You have been a general fan. You've been a commentator, now a CEO. What would you say, have you taken from all your different roles, watching the Premier League, playing in it, commentating it, and you taking it to this role as CEO?
I'd say it's really the experiences from all the perspectives, melting all of that together to create what is considered the person who I am. So I bring to the table a level of understanding from the stakeholder perspectives, the multiple stakeholder perspectives. So as you mentioned, as a player, I knew what I wanted from the league when I was a player. I knew what a club wants from the league when you're a part of a club within the system. From a sponsor's perspective, I understand what they want as well. And then from a league and overall football management perspective, I think that is very clear. So when you look at the different variables that are involved and the different prongs, I would have had, a touch of all the areas. And I think that would have allowed for me to be equipped enough to manage this, early storm and then ride it through as we go through the process.
So over the years, clubs have barely benefited financially from playing in the league. There have been more expenses than revenue. How vital is it to have an efficient system to ensure that clubs not only reach a level of sustainability, but profitability?
It's extremely vital. Every single business that you go into, so you want to see some kind of profitability. So having a club, operating a club is no different. Every single club owner, I'm sure, wants to see some kind of net profits at the end of their financial year. So it is extremely important for the efficiencies to work, for the synergies to happen, and for the overall growth. Now, what I'm very clear on is that the model that we have, it's facilitating the overall growth. So individual clubs will have to do their parts to lift what is considered the viability of the league and the sustainability. And if every single club plays their own part, obviously not equal but equitably, then things will be better. So it's very clear, and every chance we get, we reiterate that to the clubs that we need for every single club who is a part of the system to play their part so that we can have a better league.
So over the last 2 seasons or so, we know that the PFJL have tried to work hand in hand with those 12 clubs. We now have a 14-club league with Falkland and Chapelton Maroons coming in, which I assume means that more of the money will be split. A lot of the energies that were given to the 12 now has to move to 14. How difficult has that been so far? And do you sort of have a remedy to ensure that the 12 clubs who are on the right path continue that, and the 2 new clubs get to that stage very quickly?
We are developing, because it's a formula that keeps tweaking over a period. So we review what works and we try to improve on that, and the ones that the parts of the formula that is not working, we step back to the if you want to call it the room where we have those dialogues and pretty much review them and improve on them. So it's not the easiest thing to do, because as you would imagine, all these clubs have their individual vision. They're competitive enough, so everybody wants to win, everybody wants to dominate, everybody wants to be on top. Having 14 teams right now in the league, it's a mandate that would have been a part of from the inception. That's the idea that the growth is expected to happen. And if, like I say, if everybody is upskilled and does what is required, then we should be in a better place. Now, the challenge we have is not every club is equal. You know, some clubs are at their maturity curve further than others. So it is really to identify which clubs are where and at least share best practices with the ones who need some help, and the ones who are already ahead, we try to push them even further. We're not holding back any club, but we're also not leaving any club behind.
Yeah, so we've spoken in the past about merchandising,
Right.
it being a major issue. There are no real club stores or club sites where you can necessarily go on and get a club jersey. I know that's one of the things that you intend to improve this year. What is going to be different to get, you know, Jamaicans in general, fans of the football, to maybe save up and buy a local team jersey versus the overseas club jerseys that they usually get, or even just a regular brand name polo shirt or whatever? What is going to be that key difference?
So let me start by saying we have a partnership currently for this season with Admiral and their distributors locally, Locker Room. So all the kits will be provided under the Admiral brand, both home and away kits. The teams will have their jerseys that they would have designed, which I think is interesting. So every jersey that you see, or every uniform that you will see this year, was designed by the club themselves. So that speaks to the kind of leverage that they have in their decision making. So we've partnered with Admiral and Locker Room. So what we'll be having also is replica kits. So what you will see on the park, you are able to access in retail stores and from these clubs. So they'll have a decent supply of kits that, well, just the shirts that they'll be providing, as well as fan gear and merchandise that they can engage the different stakeholder groupings to wear. I think what is important is there's also gonna be an online store that we go live pretty soon that the diaspora will be able to purchase. So an e-commerce platform will be set up similar to how you go on and purchase whatever club gear that exists international that you support. And all the proceeds, what is important, all the proceeds will go back to the club. So I think that is very, very necessary to highlight. So we also help to shift some of the responsibilities now to the clubs. So we're not just out here, you know, selling stuff and benefiting from the intellectual or the properties that they may have from a club perspective. We are ensuring that we give them the right framework, provide the ecosystem, and then allow them to exploit those with whatever talents they may have. So what is important is how well they do on the field is as important as how well they do off the field.
Yeah. Another way that has been spoken about for clubs to really earn is by going on the stock market, getting potentially private investors to invest in clubs. So far, how has that plan been going? Have, you know, clubs been positive towards it, or is there still sort of maybe a pushback with some clubs not really understanding how that works? You know, how is that going so far?
I think it's going good. I mean, we have a pilot project, so 3 clubs will be primed, as we call it, for listing. And listing may just be private placements or public placements. It depends on which model works. So it's not just clubs primarily. I mean, when you look at how listings work, the club may just be a part of an overall group of companies that is managed under a portfolio. So Montego Bay United, for argument's sake, they're one of the clubs in the pilot project, and it's not just the club that is being offered for investment opportunities. There are other assets that the club has, or the the holding company has that they'll be offering in their overall plan. So we have 3 clubs that are earmarked in this pilot project. And what is important as well is that we are being guided by the experts. So our development and packaging for any kind of investment opportunities will be guided by NCB Capital Markets through their partnership with us, and then ensuring that, similar to how you would have gone and invested in any other company, whether it be on the stock market or in private placements, you'll be able to do that in football clubs. And I think it will help. Once the pilot, once there is some kind of framework that we can review and monitor, once there's the evaluation, then I think more clubs will probably come on board thereafter. But early adopters generally face more challenges, and these 3 clubs would have decided that they want to be the first movers on this, and we're preparing them for that.
So one of the reasons why a lot of leagues, not just football, but in other sports, have been successful over the last few years is because they've really tapped into that digital market space. I know that even though some of our clubs have improved, for example, their activity on social media, a lot of them still sort of struggle to really capitalize on that bigger picture. How does the PFJL help them to get that and maximize it as best as possible?
Well, as a part of our strategy, again, we want to upskill the clubs and the administrators and those who are a part of it. So every opportunity we get, we share best practices. We expose them to training materials, whether it be from the regional level with CONCACAF all the way to the JFF level. And we have a good repository of knowledge within our Caribbean region. So that best practice is always shared with the clubs. And we also are leading the charge in showing that the market space is a little different. Therefore, we need to tap into the nuances of these different media and channels that exist. So, as we know, digital is primarily driving a lot of content and ensuring that there's activations that happen that you can engage with your supporters and fans and people who are just bystanders. There's a specific way to create call to action, and the research would have shown. So we always try to share that, and that's a push that we continue to make. We lead by example. So if you notice, we have sort of stepped up the game in our digital space, and we're linking with different partners to improve. So not only the traditional way of consuming will be pushed, but we're looking at the non-traditional ways and creating new opportunities for the clubs. I mean, there are different earning potentials from these digital spaces, and our approach is to expose as far as possible and as wide as possible. And we know that it's a medium to long-term gain that you're benefiting from. So what you do now ultimately benefits you on the long term. So we're trying as best as possible, and we continue to push it. It is something that is high on the agenda, and we just keep upskilling as far as possible.
Yeah. So one of the things, which may have been a positive in my eyes throughout the pandemic, is that you were able to basically see all the games, because they were all played at central venues at the Captain Horsburgh Center. We essentially saw all the teams, even last season, playing a lot of double headers. And I know that there's a similar structure this year, but there have been times in the past where we haven't been able to see all the teams on TV because of them playing at the same time and everything. And we know we're not a rich country, so Sportsmax don't have 10, 11 trucks to shoot all the games. How do you try to improve that to allow people who may not be able to drive all the way to Montego Bay, and Sportsmax is not there to see those games, or just people in the diaspora to watch those games?
It's difficult because we try to, well, not try, we honor our obligations. So Sportsmax is our official broadcast partners. They have access, exclusive access to a lot of what we do. And we try to partner with them to drive the content. So our conversations have always been, how do we engage those people and games that are not necessarily broadcasted on live? There will be a couple of delayed games on free to air, and we're looking to also create our own opportunities to expose as far as possible. So you may not see all the games live, you may not see all the games delayed, but you will get a chance to review a couple of these games. So the approach is to always expand as far as possible. As you can imagine, now we have one more game added to the calendar of activities for every match week. So it stretches us a little bit. But we keep looking at ways to improve. And I mean, our broadcast partner, Sportsmax, I mean, they've been excellent so far. And they continue to improve. They have made some good decisions, and I think they continue to make good decisions. And they're looking to improve on their own capacity to broadcast more high quality games at these centralized venues, as you mentioned.
So this is before CEO Owen Hill has spoken. We've spoken about the Bush League status of the past, with the actual playing on the field, with players being overly physical, the abuse towards referees, all those type of things. We know that the PFJL has been trying its best to remove that stigma. With the increase of the teams, with wanting more fans to come out and support and invest in sponsors and everything, has there been a message to the clubs about their style of play? I know that you can't tell directly, tactics or anything like that, but has there been a message to be like, hey, people are watching, so you guys might want to try and play some good football, or are you just leaving the clubs to go out there and just do their thing?
Well, like you mentioned, we can determine what a club does in terms of tactics. We see where internationally different clubs have different styles. They are known for that. So for argument's sake, Chelsea is not known to play expansive football. They're very cagey, and it may just be a part of the ownership structure or the coaching model. So we understand that, and that's standard across most leagues across the world. I mean, if you don't have the talent, you try to stay safe. But what is important is the product overall must be better. So as you would have seen last season, even in the playoff rounds, etc., once you give players an opportunity to express themselves, they will. Even if it is not necessarily their go-to, their default. So with the averaging down of the average age, I think it gives more credence to the type of football that you see. When you're a younger player, you're a little bit more creative. You try to do more things, and there's less pressure on you mentally, and you're physically able to withstand, I think, more minutes and more miles. So naturally, we help to promote the idea that for the product to be lifted, the football must be lifted, but the overall ecosystem lift is required. So on the field is okay. I mean, we can't tell you how to play on the field, but what we're saying is, remember that there are cameras on you. Remember that you are a professional footballer, and this will augur well or not well if you don't play your part. So how you show up, how you behave, the things that you do, the types of plays that are being executed is a part of the overall package. And I think that is what everybody wants to see. We are exposed at the very highest level on the weekends for the most part, and in the midweeks when we're watching international games. And I think that's the standard you want to see when you're playing. And by the way, I mean, the players know that. They also watch international football. So they want to do what is required at that level.
So a lot of our teams are community teams, but surprisingly, not a lot have been involved in actual community work on a regular basis. And I know that social responsibility is something that you have preached so far. Talk to me a little bit about that in terms of what will clubs be mandated or even asked to do to ensure that they impact their community on a positive note.
Well, because we're building the products under what is considered professional football, we're very clear that a part of the building requires your off-field presence, which happens at the international clubs as well. So if we want to allow these players to start to feel like professional, we have to put programs in place to foster that. And I think that's really what we're trying to do with the corporate social responsibility programs that we're crafting. No club will be mandated, but we believe in the snowball effect. So you start with a few and you show the impact, and I'm guaranteeing you that most clubs will want to be a part of that. It helps to improve the overall discipline of the players. It lifts the professional profile because they now start to see why they're doing what they're doing. And then because they're considered local heroes within their spaces, I mean, a lot of people look towards them. Their influence is high. So we know. And then lastly, the brands that we engage with, it's heavy on their agenda. Most times it's a strategic objective to create corporate social footprints. So if they're partnering with us, it's only fair that we tap into their programs and help to improve what is considered a better Jamaica. So this is now far beyond football. This is now we are building young men and women to understand their roles as citizens of our country, and that they should be doing the right thing. And the right thing, obviously, sometimes will require some expenditure, both personal and professional. Yeah. But it's the step that we need to take in order to lift the overall profile of the league.
So the World Cup starts in a few weeks, and I know that you have spoken a little bit about how to get some buzz off that. Has there been like a super concrete plan in terms of how that will be done? Because I know that breaking for just before a World Cup win in just a few weeks' time is a little difficult. So how will you garner that buzz from the World Cup and take it back to the league?
Well, that's a good point you raise. Without releasing too much, we will be playing football in that period. So while you're watching the games on your television sets, or if you're fortunate enough to see it live, we will be having games locally thereafter. So we're creating a formula. It's not as super concrete as you would have put it, but we're still in the testing process to look what works, to create a knockout tournament within that space, to ensure that football is still being played. And we're looking to incorporate as many teams within it as possible so that it doesn't feel one-sided again. We're very conscious of the mandate by FIFA and CONCACAF and GFF to expand football globally. And we are trying to do our part in our island to create opportunities for different clubs who are not a part of the elite system to be a part of programs that, one, they get exposure, and two, the aspirational aspect is provided to them.
Yeah, I guess that's a benefit. Well, the only benefit of the Reggae Boys not qualifying for the World Cup, right? So finally, for the next month or so, as we head into the start of the season, the early part of the season, what needs to happen on and off the field for you to say it's been a successful start?
Just to start, first, again, we've been putting a lot of preparation in place, working assiduously. The team here is immensely. I should commend them a whole lot because I think we've been able to pull off some of some miraculous things within some periods. But we keep pushing. So one, we want to ensure that the league starts on time. Our league is expected to kick off on the 23rd, which is on Sunday. And then on Monday, we have our next set of games. But once we kick off, then we'll go through the process of reviewing, monitoring, evaluating, and then executing again. So the process is the same. We try to get the things right. Hopefully we get most things right on opening weekend. But if not, we still tweak and repeat. That's the message that I've been pushing, tweak and repeat. And hopefully the clubs will put on a good show. So over the next couple of weeks, I think that the clubs are raring to go. We've had some good preseason encounter, and I think it culminated in what is considered one of the largest preseason games. Yeah. So I think that would have helped to give the kind of energy that we need going into the league. So come Sunday, when you're either at Draxall or if you're at Wembley or if you're at Tony Spalding, you should be on some good football treat, and you should be excited about what you're seeing. So we expect a good season. I think we've gotten the assurance. We've been working very closely with the JFF through their competitions department because they're the governing body of football. And we're using best practices both from the local level and the regional level to apply to what is considered our league. And that's the standard by which we've been operating. So my own tenure, if you ask me, is to keep raising the profile. I've been given a baton to run my leg of the race, and I hope that I run one of the faster splits so that whoever gets the baton thereafter is in good hands.
Owen Hill, CEO of the PFJL, Professional Football Jamaica Limited, talking about all the plans, objectives, everything regarding the start of the Jamaica Premier League. We go into our final break, and when we come back, we will be hearing from the General Manager of the defending champions Harbour View, Clyde Jureidini. Stay with us.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
If you have financial needs, Chris and Charles will fix them for you. Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think loans, think Chris and Charles.
Bashko time. All the things that you need for your home, the price is so low, you would never need a loan at Bashko. Build it at Bashko. Shop it. Appliances, house with furniture and rugs, eastside linens and glass and mugs at Bashko. You shopping at Bashko. Whether the north or so in the east and the west, Bashko them all over. They must be the best at Bashko. At Bashko. You shopping at Bashko. At Bashko. Giving you more.
Importers, the Jamaica Customs Agency is reforming its clearance process, making it easier for you to clear your non-commercial and small value items using our simplified declarations. You will be able to clear your goods without physically visiting the port or a warehouse for customs inspection, making your clearance experience even better. The pilot begins October 2022 across all Marine Public Bonded warehouses. For further details, email Jamaica Customs at contactlessclearance@jca.gov.jm or telephone 876-922-5140-8. We're here to serve you. Jamaica Customs, keeping our customers in focus.
Know what I count, yeah. Hey, me count, you count. Census say all of we count. Hey, you count, me count. Census say all of we count. Hey, information needed to develop the community. Them scouts them out and I get the reports. So don't bother hide when you see them.
Census 2022. The Jamaican census will be conducted between September and December 2022. You count, me count.
It's Stewardship Month, and the Waltham Park New Testament Church of God presents Finance Expo 2022. Want to own your home? Grow your savings? Learn about investments? Need a pastor or JP to sign your documents? Then the Finance Expo is the place to be. Come hear from NHT, Grace Kennedy, the VM Group, Lasco Financial Services, TAJ, COK, NCB, Guardian Life, Tip Friendly Society, and many more. Walk with your ID and TRN. Need to apply for your TRN? You can have that done as well. That's the Waltham Park New Testament Church of God Finance Expo 2022. This Sunday, October 23 at 5 p.m. 65 Waltham Park Road. Be there.
Welcome back to Sports Talk here on Love 101. We have a few minutes left, and we're going to hear from the defending champions, General Manager of Harborview FC, Clyde Jureidini. I also spoke with him on Friday about the team's preparations, their objectives for the season, the different issues that they have been facing. So let's first hear how their preparations have been going.
Rough as always. The most strenuous time, or one of the most strenuous time we find is the restart of preseason, when everything has to be done over from base, everything has to be scrutinized, everything has to be improved, and everything has to be put in place for our next season, which is tantamount to our next year. So it's a lot of work, a lot of things have been done in the last 6 to 8 weeks, and we're just about getting there. Everything not fully in place yet. We're going to dot a few I's and cross a few T's and still have some other sentence and paragraphs to write as we go, as the season starts. But we'll be up and running to some level of preparation for our opening game against Shackleton Maroons on Monday evening, 5 o'clock at the Anthony Spalding Sports Complex.
Yeah, so last season you were champions despite, I guess, people on the outside and pundits, not tipping your club as a favorite. Going into this season, does that put pressure on your team and the staff heading into the season, or are you going to take it day by day, as they always say?
We will take it day by day and game by game, step by step, as we always do, trying to be careful, trying to be professional, trying to be as best prepared as we can for each game and each individual. Is always a slippery slope to think that everything is on the same and you go in and you are different from your competitor and the next competitor is different from the next competitor. So we give due regard and due respect to each team that we play, and even more importantly to getting our squad and our team prepared for each week's game and each opponent. So we're going to take it step by step. Naturally, being a champion, everybody's going to come at you. There's a target on your back, so to speak. It comes with the territory of winning and then us winning 5 championships. So we're going to be a target of high competitive football, and that can only help us once we respond positively and tactically to what comes our way on the field.
Yeah, head coach Ludlow Bernard, who returned a few years ago, leading the team last year. Over the year, last year cutting ties with KC to fully focus on Harborview. How satisfied have you been with his work on and off the field, and do you plan on having him around for the long term?
Well, Ludlow has been around for the long term, like some some of us, we were born in and around when the football club was born, and we are tied inextricably at the navel and at the heartstrings to the Harbourview Football Club. From youngsters playing in the community, then we learn to be coaches, then we learn to be managers, then we learn to be club administrators, and we're still learning, and that will continue. More importantly, we keep the spirit of the Harbourview community and the Harbourview Football Club fraternity going by passing on the information to younger, more equipped persons to continue to grow, to lead, to experience, and to learn the craft of football, and then passing it on to the players, to their parents, to their family, and to the football fraternity that we compete in. So we're inextricably tied, but he has the mantle at the moment of being club administrator, in addition to be the head coach, and he's working with his technical team to get the team prepared and to get more of our coaches and managers and equipment managers and physical trainers and assistant managers to learn the trade, to pass that on to our youth teams, that now we have 6 or 7 that used to be doing a month or 2 activity, now doing 6, 7, and 8 months activity. So the whole thing has developed and grown, and it's a challenge to keep in pace with it and to move it forward. But we're going to be trying to stay on par and to try to get and keep ahead of the game as best as we can.
Yeah. So there have been some incomings in the transfer window, including that of Demar Rose, one of your many sons that developed at Harbourview, former high school standout at Wolmer's recently with Portmore, and made a few of the Reggae Boys squad this year, along with Rose and several others. How would you assess the acquisitions heading into the season?
Measured. We have looked at what we really genuinely need, and then what we can add to that, because we know the cost of living and the cost of retaining talent we have is going to be a upward challenge. The dollar has declined. There is a war going on in the world. The environment is competitive to get finances after a 2.5 to 3 year pandemic, that businesses are just going back out of the shed. So we were measured in our approach and tried to be very sensible in what additional costs we had. We have lost a few players. There are 1 and 2 players who are still not back in training yet, still overseas, and they, like everybody, is trying to make their life and make a career of the sport of football. So we're waiting, and we may add 1 or 2 as we go, but measured. We try to fill the important gap rather than to just have a lot of numbers thrown in. We have made a big investment when the pandemic hit in 2020. So what we did was to include what we considered the better players from our under 17 and our under 20 team who would have been displaced and have nowhere to go into the Premier League team. So that 2021 truncated season that we played for just 1 round, a lot of our younger players were being exposed there with some of our more senior players, because they had temporarily halted the relegation and we could do more development and a mix of exposure there. We ended, I think, 5th or 6th in that season. And then we came back last season and ended around about the same position and got into the playoffs again. But this time when we got into the playoffs, more players were a little bit more experienced. We had added about 3 or 4 more senior players last year to the squad. And then we got into a good vein of performance there at the right time. Unfortunately, that carried us to hoisting a 5th Premier League title. So here we are, along the same vein, just being measured as best as we can until we see that all the dust and the problems have passed, and then we see what best way we can push forward in a little more than the others.
Yeah. If memory serves me right, the team hasn't played a home game at the Harbourview Stadium since the pre-pandemic. How has that affected the club in terms of gate revenue, general support from the community, and how important will it be to to get that change for the season?
Good and bad. Good first in that because the pandemic, we adhere to all the national restrictions, to safety measures, to health concern, to good governance, and to duty to ourselves, the football fraternity, and of course the parents and players. So when they said only the Premier League teams at that time were allowed to have training sessions, to have tournaments and preparation games, and then playing the competition, all our youth teams were stopped. We got a lot of flack from it, from parents, from players, from supporters, while many of the teams and the clubs and the schools and academies who were continually in training flouted the law. We did not. As a result of that, we didn't have any persons ill from the pandemic under our care. And for that, we are very proud of that. But however, we lost 2 to 2.5 years of development in some critical age group development and youngsters. Some left and went to others who weren't adhering to the rules and continued their development. Some did not. And through that commitment, we are now rebuilding since earlier this year, when everything has turned up in January, and getting a lot of them into youth tournaments and practice games and training sessions in an organized way. So it's slowly coming back, and we saw that we did well in some of the leagues and at some of the age groups participation, but we're going to look to improve on that as we restart our first kick program, which is for under 5, under 7, under 11, and under 13 tomorrow morning between 9 and 11 at the football stadium. So we're going to restart that, and then we have what is to us the more competitive youth program, the under 13, 15, and 17 will probably start in a next week or two on Saturdays only, after a lot of the players are free from their Manning Cup and the Costa Cup obligations and may or may not be in their courts under 14 and under 16 competition that starts about now in schools as well, because the landscape is cluttered from everybody coming back out after the pandemic.
Yeah, so
but we lost gift receipts as well, so I mean that's a natural thing, and that is what it is. So we're now trying to resell billboards and signboards and trying to get the field back up and look into at a major project that we are looking to between now and January to try and get a solar system and our lights up in our stadium, that we could feel that we have gotten to where we want to, and once we think we are there, then we will present to the Professional Football Jamaica Limited and to Sportsmaster TV broadcast people to restart live games and to host patrons back in our stadium. But if that goes well, it won't be before January of 2023. So that's a 3-month project that we are heavily invested in and working hard at now to try to get back to that.
Understood. I know that takes a lot of money, a lot of expenditure, which you know firsthand, being part of this league for a long time. You mentioned the PFJL, who have been preaching plans of sustainability and profitability for the league. Hearing some of their plans and objectives, are you more optimistic than usual, or are you in the wait and see mode for these type of plans?
We're optimistic. We're optimistic that a group of clubs continue to work together for the good of the football fraternity, for the good of the Premier League as one sector of the overall development. We are working amongst ourselves and with associates, sponsors, and clubs and academies to develop the other as important segment of the youth leagues and the development league, as I outlined there before. But the Premier League Clubs Association, the PLC, since 2013 has been doing a yeoman work to set the basis to get the clubs to go together, to get and approach sponsors and corporate bodies and football governing bodies locally, regionally, and through CONCACAF to develop the clubs, to develop the marketability and the commercialization, and the PFJL, Professional Football Jamaica Limited, under the new leadership in the last 2 seasons, has done a bit more for the commercialization project, and so we'll continue along those veins, and we have to keep positive and we have to work hard to break new ground and to make progress because the sport demands it. So we look at it as a positive, but it's a lot of work and it will take some time.
Yeah. So we know that every team wants to win. That's a given. In your mind, what would you regard as a successful season for the club?
The coaches and the players and the technical staff hitting their goals of what they set out to attain based on the talent level there, based on the resources we have, based on the environment we play locally. We have now qualified once more to play in the CONCACAF Regional Club Championships. We're waiting to hear from the JFF and the CFU and CONCACAF what that will look like. We understand we won't hear about that, and that may be scheduled for sometime next year, probably June, July, August. So we wait to hear that. So that will get us back into international club football, and that's a plus. So we look to see what we need to do to get ourselves ready for that, and when it comes. But as we have always done, we have always charted our own path, and so we have plans for our youth teams to travel to North America, to possibly link up with a new franchise and some other partners in Europe to get our youngsters developed and exposed regionally inside Jamaica, as we went to Trinidad with our under-16 team in the summer last season in early July. We want to get some of the kids into the Caribbean and into Central America and into North America and into Europe to expose that level of development. So we have those personal plans that we are discussing and approaching partners to work with the parents in the club to get that development module going and to keep making steps forward. We haven't traveled in the last 2.5 years to Europe because of the pandemic and the high cost now with travel internationally. So we think by next year it should be one of those things that we revisit, but we definitely have some agreement to go into the Florida area, and also to look at to get into Europe with some of our youth groups, and the possibility of the Premier League team traveling again as well. Still looms from invitations we already had this year and couldn't take up.
Clyde Jureidini there, General Manager of the defending champions, Harborview FC. We look to see if they will defend their title. That's it for today's show. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember to support a team this weekend or teams this weekend, a full slate of matches across the island. So if you have some free time, please go out and support them. All right. And remember to join Sports Talk every Saturday afternoon from 1 to 2 p.m. right here on the family station, Love 101. Until then, please have a great weekend and watch some sports.
You've just heard Sports Talk right there with Daniel Blake. I hope you did enjoy the program. Yeah, join us again next Saturday for another program in the series. You're tuned to Love 101, the family station. Time on Love is 2:04. Yes, indeed.